They're two happy women bringing you inspiring stories, politics, pop culture, and lifestyle hacks, all with an eye to making our communities and our country a better place to live. It's the Happy Women Podcast with your hosts, Jen Horn and Katie Gorka.
Military games in 2019, right before the pandemic breaks out. We've got other secrets our government didn't tell us on this episode of the Happy Women Podcast. I'm Jennifer Horn.
And I'm Katie Gorka.
You know, it's really interesting because it has been 5 years since COVID, actually, really almost to the day. About a month ago, I think we celebrate. I don't know if we even celebrate is the right word, but we paid tribute to 5 years ago. It was COVID shutdown time. And it is amazing to me. It's been on my mind so much about COVID, the lies the government told us as we've been going through the fallout from Liberation Day and the tariffs. If you remember, everybody says, why now is President Trump doing the tariffs? President Trump was working on the tariffs against China during his first administration. And what happened so conveniently to stop that? It was the COVID pandemic. So it's interesting, as we've been focusing so much on tariffs in the news this last, week or two, Katie, it seems like I'm revisited by some of these COVID facts. But you found out a story that was just released very quietly by the Trump administration about these military games in Wuhan, identified as like the first super spreader event. What did you find out?
I thought this story was really fascinating. And I'm just so shocked that I'd not heard word one about this before now. So this is the Washington Free Beacon who broke this. And apparently the Trump administration quietly, I don't know why quietly, but quietly uploaded the report to the Department of Defense website last month. Okay, so that was only 7-8 days ago, maybe. But here's the story. So Wuhan, China, right, where the COVID virus came from.
At that wet market, right? Wink, wink.
Yeah, wink, wink. Happened to host from October 18th to 27 in 2019, the World Military Games. So they brought in to Wuhan 9,000 plus military personnel from 109 countries. And what they're saying is that, so what this report says that was just uploaded is that seven U.S. military members may have contracted COVID-19 at that time. And there are military members from other countries who also said they came home with very intense COVID-like symptoms. So what's really incredible is that this report was put together by the Biden administration in 2022, and they hid it from the Department of Defense and obviously from the American people. But the thing that I find, okay, first of all, there must have been so much noise and chatter around, because when you have 9,000 members of foreign militaries going to a place and a bunch of them get sick, there must have been a lot of chatter amongst them. I find it incredible that not a single word of that made it into the media, right? And then the fact that the Biden administration managed to entirely suppress it. But I have to say, and you know me, we talk about this a lot. I am not inclined to support conspiracy theories because most of the times they're only that. They are theories, right? Mm-hmm. But how ironic that China was hosting 9,000 members of foreign military and a bunch of them happened to get this virus. Like, you just have to start to ask yourself, was it an accident?
Look, I don't like to spread conspiracy theories that can hurt people, I guess, would be the way to put that. But I do think conspiracy theories are interesting to talk about. And you have to acknowledge that if this report was so important to the Biden administration that they wouldn't release it, or that they thought the information in it was so damaging that they wanted to hide this from the mainstream news media, how many people were sick at that time? Remember, there were already things going on with people being sick. What a perfect vehicle to launch a virus, a worldwide pandemic, on a group of people that were going to go back to, what did you say, 109 different countries to spread this? I mean, if you were going to try to get this delivered worldwide, this would be a heck of a way to do it.
Absolutely
Wow.
incredible. I know, isn't it? I think it's a really shocking story. I'm dying to see what more comes out of this.
I think, I mean, I would really hope that the Trump administration doesn't just release this quietly, as you mentioned. I hope that somebody is asked about this, but it would rely on the curiosity of the news media, which clearly doesn't exist anymore because it would paint them in a way that looks terribly. I mean, the fact that the mainstream news media, the fact that Congress, and I'm talking about Democrats and Republicans, the fact that our local officials shut us down for as long as they did, no questions asked, looks really bad on the people that we trusted to lead the country. I mean, I can still remember poor President Trump, and it was around this time as we get ready to go into the Passover and Easter holidays, where he was saying very reluctantly, okay, we're going to do 3 weeks here. We're going to do 3 weeks, but we all want to be back in church on Easter Sunday. They took us for a ride. And if I really think that was the final straw, and people wondering if the government was really going to tell us the truth. This is a kind of information that was out there. It's the information that Fauci knew. It's the information that the Biden administration knew, and we didn't get a word of it. It really is. I think it's one of the most tragic stories of our time that we could be lied to and used as little pawns just to see how far the testing of control would go. And it went pretty far for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm also super curious to see if Anthony Fauci is held accountable in any way, because he so obviously was doing what he did to protect his own role in the whole thing and funding the research, and I don't know, who knows what else. It's an incredible case of, I think, meddling in our domestic politics, and maybe more than that. So
Our health. I mean, how many people died alone because they
Yeah.
couldn't be surrounded by their family? It's sick. Yet they made him People's Sexiest Man of the Year. I mean, put some glasses on, people. Wear the
And
glasses like
people
Katie
in
and I have.
Bethesda, Maryland had their "We Love Fauci" yard
Ugh.
signs all over the place. I know. I had such a
They
culture
made
shock
him
when
a
I
hero.
crossed the river and saw that.
Like, put those signs away. Where did those come from? And who was the one that made the signs, I think, is an even better question.
And
All
who
right,
paid
so
for the signs?
that's what I mean. I mean,
Yeah, was that the NIH? That's what I want to know.
well, I mean, I get it if it's like, okay, not that I like seeing these, but I saw a few Harris wall signs, not very many, even in California where I live. By the way, I think I only saw 1 or 2 in the entire cycle. But at least, those are coming from a campaign. Like, what did Fauci have? His own PR firm? By the way, oh my gosh, this is something we didn't even talk about yet. But have you been reading the excerpts from the books about the Biden administration? Fight, and I believe the other one is called Uncharted. Have you heard anything about this? Katie, I get up at 4:30 every single morning. So my evenings, like 5 to 9, that is my sweet spot for relaxation, getting myself ready for a great night's sleep. And I have to tell you, I am super excited to be working with Cozy Earth. I have heard about this brand before, and now I have their sheets and their pajamas. And let me tell you, I am blown away. The luxury, the quality, it is absolutely incredible. And they have made me sleep better. My problem is now I don't want to get up and get dressed in the morning because I like staying in my sheets and in my pajamas.
I love the sheets because they feel like silk. They are so luxurious, and the pillowcases, I love them. Okay, here's what else I think is really fun. I am always looking for a gift, either for my kids or my siblings, and I never know what to give. And I'm going to give these as gifts. I think it makes a really, really fun gift.
Yeah, the pajamas come in multiple sizes, even different lengths. I'm tall, so I actually have the tall length. They are perfect. They are so cozy, but they're breathable so that you get that air in the middle of the night. That's true of the sheets too. A lot of temperature regulation going on. I think it would be a fabulous gift. Mother's Day is coming up. You have birthdays, you have summer holidays. This is absolutely perfect. You should check out the entire line from Cozy Earth, and they really do improve your nightly routine. Your friends, your family, maybe you've been thinking about trying this out, or you're looking for a great gift. Now is the time to try Cozy Earth. And when you do, use code Happy Women. You're going to save 40% off of these best-selling sheets, pajamas, and more. You are not going to regret this. These things look amazing. And the sheets come in the cutest little tote ever. You always know how hard it is to store your sheets, the fitted sheet. This tote is absolutely genius. pajamas, absolutely amazing. And guess what? With those pajamas, the unmatched comfort of Cozy Earth, if you're not completely in love with your bedding, you can return it hassle-free. You're not going to want to, but they give you a 100-night sleep trial to test it out, plus a 10-year warranty on all the bedding products. That's incredible. They stand behind their quality of bedding. They give you a 10-year warranty and a 100-night sleep trial. You have nothing to lose, except maybe sleepless nights. So here's the deal. Sanctuary awaits at Cozy Earth. Make sure you try them out for temperature regulation, enhanced fabric, superior softness, responsible production, and durability and commitment to quality. So much so that they give you a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty on all the bedding products. Do not wait. Go right now to Cozy Earth and use the code HAPPYWOMEN for 40% off. Treat yourself, treat your family, treat your loved ones. This is a great gift, as Katie mentioned. Use code HAPPYWOMEN and save 40% off. You will love it.
No, I know I know they've come out, and I know I've heard lots of chatter about the utter hypocrisy of the authors, but I've not actually read any excerpts. Why? What are you reading?
Okay, so I'm doing a couple of things here that I never thought I would do. We're going to talk about Bill Maher in a second. I'm going to be DVRing Bill Maher this weekend to hear about his trip to the White House. That's something I never thought I'd say, and I never thought I'd say I'd pick a book up about an administration from a mainstream news media journalist, but there are a couple books out. Uncharted is one, Fight is the other. I believe Uncharted is coming out this week and Fight is already out. But the revelations that have come from this, Uncharted, I think, is the one that says that they had to use fluorescent tape to outline where Joe Biden was supposed to walk and his marks, basically, so that somebody wouldn't have to guide him. Because you might remember how pathetic it looked when he was trying to navigate himself at the White House during Easter, and the Easter Bunny had to show him where to go. So they thought that was a bad look. So they were using fluorescent tape to guide him. There was also Ron Klain, who said when he was prepping him, and that was his chief of staff, for the debate against Trump, that Biden seemed confused. He seemed weak. He didn't have it. He had his notes in front of him. But Ron Klain thought that Biden was focusing so much on NATO that he actually thought he was the president of NATO and not the United States.
Oh.
And the book Fight talks about the machine politics of the Democrat Party, which is one of those, you might call it a conspiracy theory, but it's what I've always believed to be true. And that is that the people in the Democrat Party do not pick their candidates. The party apparatus picks their candidates and the people fall into line. And I've believed that since I saw the 2020 election 2016, where they aced Bernie out to bring Hillary in with the superdelegate, right? And then in 2020, they didn't want Bernie Sanders to be popular again, and they were desperate because they thought Kamala Harris was going to be their savior, but no one liked her. So what did they do? They got James Clyburn after one stinking win in South Carolina, basically, because of James Clyburn for Biden. They made him the front runner. Everybody else just went out the window. It was like, well, Joe Biden won South Carolina. He's our guy. And Joe Biden, as a return favor to Clyburn, picked Kamala Harris as his VP. We knew that wasn't Joe's choice because he was not fond of Kamala Harris. But what we learned is that when they were trying to cut Joe out, and you and I were on the Patriots Alaska cruises, this was all going on, Joe Biden, what is he going to be in? Is he going to be out? When they were trying to cut him out, Obama and Nancy Pelosi were working to have an open primary because they didn't think that Kamala had what it took to become the president. They thought that she was too close to Biden as far as their legacy and that she wasn't equipped to win. So they wanted an open primary. They wanted Biden to announce that he was out and not endorse. But James Clyburn and Kamala Harris worked together to Joe Biden, saying, when you drop out, you have to come out and endorse Kamala immediately, as basically an axe in the back of Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama. And sure enough, that's exactly what he did. And the party was not able to get their open primary or their open convention like they wanted. And they were stuck with Kamala. But it's really an interesting look into the machine that drives that Democrat Party.
But it's interesting that you say that it was James Clyburn pushing for that, because I think the narrative that I had heard was that it was actually Biden's decision to kind of anoint Kamala.
I'm sure Jill,
because he was so resentful of Pelosi and Obama for meddling. But here's what I'm really curious to see with these two books is whether you can't sort of piece together from the stories who actually was pulling the strings.
Thank you.
behind the
That's
scenes.
exactly what I want to know. Who was in charge? Who was doing it? And was it staffers? Because it's possible, everybody liked to think that it was Obama being the puppet master. And he said some things in the past that alluded to him being a puppet master. Um, but there was so much chaos in the Biden administration. It did feel like there was a push and pull and that there wasn't organized rollout of anything from Afghanistan on down. It makes me wonder if these people, like these staffers who are working around Biden, were just making decisions and using his auto pen. I mean, it's possible.
Well, and I think it's also entirely possible if one person at the top wasn't in charge, then you had competing factions, and whoever could get away with what they could, they were, right?
They would push. And
hence the sort of chaos.
Yeah, and he actually brought in one of the other things to get the endorsements from everybody during 2020 to get Bernie out of the race because Bernie wasn't going to go. He made the deal with Bernie to bring in half of his staffers, basically. So that's why it always did feel chaotic. Like there were two factions, is that you had the Biden Democrats and the Sanders Democrats that were constantly at odds with one another. So these books look pretty interesting. I'll check it out. But again, the question is, why did they lie to us for 4 years when they knew exactly who Joe Biden was and what he was and was not capable of?
I know.
All right, moving on. We've got lots of news today. It's always fun to talk through these issues. So Marco Rubio is the Secretary of State. He's been doing a great job, I think. I mean, I was a little unsure about Marco because I felt that he was closely aligned to the swamp.
Yeah.
But I think he's been doing a great job. And he has revoked some student visas, and a lot of them actually in my home state of California. There have been many from the schools in California, a lot of response on that. But he is reviewing the student visas, I think rightly so. You have a lot of people who are involved with the protests against this country who are supporting terrorist groups like Hamas. And the left hates to see this. The left, of course, wants to keep everybody in here, especially those who hate America, join the party. But when you get a student visa, Katie, and you know this, you sign up to do no harm to the United States. And some of these people, I think most of them, the argument can be made that they were intent on doing some sort of harm, whether it be a person, a group, a religious group. I mean, we saw it during the summer of last year.
I thought the UC Berkeley's statement about this was interesting because they talk about we're going to do whatever we can to defend these students' rights. But I'm sorry, foreign students don't have the same rights as American citizens. So I'm not sure exactly what they're referring to there. But I was really encouraged to see that Marco Rubio has revoked the visas of around 300 students. That's some seriously good news. And I just want to say, I think this is a really critical area for us to look at. I mean, I cannot believe we talked about this, I don't know, a couple months ago maybe, but looking at the numbers in our colleges and universities of how the outrageous percentage that is now foreign students. But what I think a lot of people don't realize is the way certain countries, particularly China, is exploiting this. I mean, not only do you have the bad guys, the Hamas and whoever, the anti-Semitic, the pro-Islamist voices who are coming here and wreaking havoc and making campuses unsafe for Jewish students and others. But you've also got the whole China piece. And there's a program that the United States has, which actually allows students to stay on in the United States in a work position if it's considered a kind of training or internship. And I will just say that under the first Trump administration, the ombudsman and Customs and Immigration Services actually uncovered that as one of the ways that the Chinese were stealing our intellectual property because they're placing these quote students in a lot of sensitive places and getting our intellectual property and national security information and taking it back home. So I'd like to see a lot more of this from Marco Rubio. We need to clean this up.
I would too. And this is why you're my brilliant friend, because you bring up the China piece. Yes, we saw a lot of, obviously the focus during last summer was on the war between Israel and Hamas. And you have a lot of people who were doing a lot of things to Jewish students on campuses. That's one thing, and it's awful. But the long-term problem is exactly what you outlined with China. And I had a moment where I spoke to this woman. This was probably last year at a speaking event that I did, a speaking engagement. And the sweetest woman, And we were talking about the problem and the threat of China during the remarks that we made. Obviously, there must have been something in the news to spark that conversation. But she came up and she said she had escaped from China. And she talked about how every single person that is allowed to come here, truly on the government watch, always runs the risk of being called on by their government to do something to help the government, to help the government's front, whether that's a student visa or the people who come here to start businesses. There is always a tie to the Chinese Communist Party. And that's frightening because they are exploiting their own people to come here. And probably those people don't want to come here for nefarious reasons. They probably want to get the heck out of China. But at the same time, your family's there. Maybe there's ties. It is absolutely a price. And it's something that a lot of people don't realize, or that they're just waking up to, that this program has been exploited for years on the part of the Chinese Communist Party.
All right, I want to talk about something that's really been getting under my skin, which is the attacks on Elon Musk. So this just kills me. I think he is doing the most extraordinary service for our country. And you've got people attacking Tesla, threatening him. So Saturday was, another day of protest. There were supposed to be 900 protests around the country. We have a Tesla dealership here in Tyson's Corner. So I was going to go and do a YouTube video and, put it out there like this is happening. And these people are on aprons. Okay, so I get there and there were 4 people protesting. Okay, but having said that, I think in the end, what I decided is that one of the reasons there were so few people there is because I think anybody who really was motivated or paid went into DC because there was a bigger protest there. And then I saw an interesting story from the protest in Raleigh. I don't know if you've seen this on X, but somebody posted a big, fairly decent sized protest and said, what do you notice about this picture? And it was the fact that everybody there was white and over 60. and so
the retiree crowd.
Yeah. So their argument is that, or let's say allegation, I think, is that these people are being paid, that they're basically nursing home residents or whatever, and easy fodder. So they're being paid something to get out here and protest. But I actually think it's something different. I really think that this is that 60s generation that just has never let go of the culture that they were raised in and what they came to believe. And they are out there and they embrace this. They own this. I mean, I think this is really actually sincere on their part. And I think it's really interesting to see that generation just ahead of mine, right? I'm just a little enough younger that I was not raised in that spirit, right? In that culture. But they were, and I'm kind of shocked at the number of people that I've encountered who have really, really, really held on to that 60s radicalism.
Hey guys, it's Jennifer Horn and Katie Gorka from the Happy Women podcast, and we are both so excited to talk to you about my PhD, weightloss.com. The PhD weight loss program has worked for Katie. She is in maintenance. I am still going through my journey, but Katie, I just told you this last weekend, I threw out a stack of clothes that no longer fit. It's time for a new wardrobe. That's right. I'm excited about that. It's a good problem to have, I guess.
I was so excited because I actually had to get rid of almost my entire winter wardrobe because I went from a size 12 to a size 8. And it's funny because I kept a few of my favorite pieces and I put them on and they're like so baggy. I don't feel good in them. But yeah, it was absolutely an amazing program. And what I'm excited about, I'm now 2 years post weight loss and I've been able to maintain my weight this whole time. So it's been great.
Incredible victories. Time to feel them for yourself. Call PhD Weight Loss right now, 864-644-1900, 864-644-1900, or myphdweightloss.com. Use code Jen, myphdweightloss.com, code Jen. That's really interesting because I could have sworn that these people were paid, but we had our rallies, our hands off rallies over the weekend in Los Angeles. And I saw people that I knew sadly out there with their signs, hands off, Elon
Really?
Musk. Oh yeah. People on my Facebook feed that I knew that I was like, oh man, really with the signs? Like, I mean, don't we have something better to do here? But they're so appalled. And I don't understand what they are appalled about. So I do think they're legitimate protesters. I would have bet my bottom dollar that the majority, and you know what, probably the majority of the ones who organize this stuff are really paid. I don't believe that these things come together organically, but I do think there's enough of what you describe kind of as the soldiers who will go out there and do the work at least every once in a while to protest. I don't understand. I mean, I'm truly at a loss. Like, I could get protesting President Trump for immigration because you want to protect illegal immigrants. What I don't understand is why you could protest against cutting government waste. I don't understand it.
And fixing computer systems that don't work, fixing
It's not
technology that's
controversial.
35 years old.
This is
makes
exactly
no
the
sense.
point. Like, I can get it. Like, people can argue. You've got the Judge Boasbergs of the world who have daughters who are taking money off the government because they want to work for these NGOs protecting illegal immigrants. Okay. I can get it. Make an argument about that. But they are upset about Elon Musk making cuts and modernizing a government that is old. It is old and inefficient. And that's what we're upset about. They're carving swastikas into Teslas because he wants to get rid of a Social Security phone line and he wants to put people's retirement records on a computer. I am so befuddled by this. And so I guess it irks me because I know you're right that these people there are legitimate people who are out there because they're just so appalled. But I cannot wrap my brain around this. And I'm usually pretty good at putting myself in other people's shoes and like figuring out what they could be mad at. This one it is befuddling for me. I don't get it.
I do. Yeah, but I do think you're right, and we can't dismiss it. I agree with you 100%. I think a lot of people are being paid, and I could actually be really wrong about this older generation. Maybe the bulk of them are getting paid as well. But I think it's interesting that I mean, you've had people now go on and give their testimony on X, for example, about how they were paid and the instructions that they were given, and I'm also seeing stories that apparently Bondi is investigating whether I guess they've got evidence that it's Soros that's helping to fund Soros and others who are helping to fund these protests and these attacks. And so then the question becomes, is this criminal behavior? Because you're actually inciting attacks.
It's terrorism.
It is. This is domestic terrorism, and they should be investigated.
Just on that note, Elon was on, I think it was actually last Tuesday. It was on election day because he had worked really hard on those Wisconsin races, and it was a mixed bag of results there. The judge that he was rallying for obviously lost, but they did get voter ID in the state. So I think a mixed bag of results to be sure, which is okay in Wisconsin. But Elon was on, he called into the 5 actually, which was sort of funny on Fox. And I happened to hear the interview, and he said they indeed knew the ringleader of these protests on Tesla and that there would be charges coming. So again, these are things that we're hearing. I think the Attorney General has been moving a little slow, but you've got to get it right when it comes to the law. So we give her some grace. But I hope we find out. The story you sent me, this George Soros Foundation has been taking money from all over the place, including Gavin Newsom in California, sending taxpayer dollars to George Soros. He is paying for all sorts of things. There's direct links now to his foundation behind all of the campus protests. It would not surprise me if he was also behind these Tesla protests as well.
Well, and on that note, we also have to mention again my favorite story, which is ActBlue, the big, the Democrat fundraising app that they've discovered. They're discovering increasingly that it's a money laundering scheme. So ActBlue has raised $15 billion in its existence. And there are now attorney generals from 19 states that are investigating it. So this is another one that I think is really going to get blown wide open. It's going to be very interesting to see, especially in states like yours and mine, California and Virginia, how much of this Democrat supermajority that we have to live under, how much of it is authentic
I know.
versus how much of it was stolen because of illegal campaign contributions? And I don't think that's an insignificant question at all. Not just the cheating through ActBlue, but also all this money now that Musk and Doge have uncovered that is U.S. taxpayer dollar being funneled to NGOs and to politicians.
I know. It's going to be interesting to see. That's a lot of money that we're talking about here. And ActBlue seems to be imploding. I don't know. I mean, we've been hearing so much about them sort of crumbling from the top on down. We'll see. All right. Finally, today, we got to talk about Bill Maher. Katie and I were so interested in this meeting at the White House. It was Bill Maher and Kid Rock and Dana White from the UFC and President Trump. Apparently, Kid Rock played the piano for them, which I guess would have been pretty exciting. They got a whole tour of the residence. And Bill Maher did not do a show last Friday, so we don't know exactly what he thought of his meeting with President Trump, but he does this podcast. And he did allude to some things Trump on the podcast. And if you want to, let's take a look and see what we got here. Take a listen.
Trump really is one of the most effective politicians, whatever you think of the policy and him as a person. Just as a politician, just understanding that always lean in to being more who you are. The people are not savvy about issues, but they smell a phony a mile away.
Kind of going back to what we were just talking about earlier, 4 years of people lying to us, saying that Joe Biden was totally fine, that there was no problem there, not to believe our lion eyes, right? That's what they were trying to tell us. I think that's what Bill Maher talks about here. You've got a group of politicians who are not true. They are not authentic. They'll tell you whatever they think you want to hear. And I'm talking about in my state, Gavin Newsom, who'd like to be president. There are a lot of them who will tell you what they think you want. That's not Trump. Trump has a style that sometimes rubs people the wrong way, but you know where he stands at all times.
And that was the conclusion of one of my favorite political analysts, Patrick Ruffini, who did such a good job in actually predicting what was going to happen in this last election. And this is exactly what he said. He said, and this was based on polling, people felt that Trump, what you see is what you get. He's totally authentic. That is the man. Love it or not. But with Kamala, it just none of it ever felt sincere. Same with Biden, that it was all fake. Okay. But before we sign off, I just need to know, are you watching anything fun these days?
All right, guys, there's something that we all can't avoid, and that is aging. And, as we age, you know what happens. We're all dealing with more aches and pains, thinning hair, wrinkling skin. Even our nails start to get more brittle. So I want to tell you about this product that Katie and I have been using. It is called Revive from Brightcore Nutrition. It's easy to mix. That's really the best part. No chunky, powdery things that float around in your drink. No, easy to mix. Multi-collagen powder helps strengthen your bones and joints. And the best thing about Revive is that it works from the inside out. It's also going to help you rejuvenate your skin, help you grow back thicker, healthier, shinier hair, and strengthen your brittle nails. Revive is special because it contains 5 types of collagen, hyaluronic acid, biotin, vitamin C, and they all work synergistically to make you look and feel younger than ever. It's all natural, non-GMO, and we love it. 100% made in the USA. Today, exclusive for Happy Women listeners and viewers, you can get 25% off with the code HAPPYWOMEN by going to mybrightcore.com/happywomen, or you can call Brightcore. In fact, they prefer it for up to 50% off, free shipping, and a special free gift. Give them a call right now, 888-927-5980, and their educated staff will make sure that Revive is right for you. 888-927-5980. Well, yesterday I watched the Dodgers go to the White House. And by the way, speaking of authentic Trump, you know that what he said about the senators, did you happen to see it? So our 2 California senators, Adam Schiff and Alex Padilla, were in the room. And so Trump was introducing everybody that was in the room. And he goes, and there's 2 senators here, but I don't really like them, so I'm not going to introduce them to you.
I did
and
hear
the whole
that.
room laugh. So the authenticity is real. As far as good shows, I've been telling you, I've been watching Paradise, which is on Hulu. Very interesting. Involving the president, James Marsden, which I'm absolutely loving. And I think I've talked about that one before. I also really like the reboot of Matlock with Kathy Bates
You
on
said
CBS.
that. Okay. Wait, when you
Been
say
loving
it's
that.
a reboot, so you mean it's been reissued or it's been remade?
So they just call it Matlock, but it's really just the woman in the episode's name is Kathy Bates'
Oh.
character is Maddie Matlock. So it is a mystery. It's each show has a mystery, but it does make you challenge what's right and wrong. And I think it's interesting. It pushes you into some really interesting moral gray areas. I'm trying to think if there's anything else fun that I've been watching. I feel like I'm a broken record here. This is not new, but I love The Rookie on ABC, and I'm very excited because 24 is coming back at the end of the year. But you always have more exciting stuff. What have you been watching?
The Pit. Do you know what this is?
Okay, so no, tell me about this.
This is the ER reboot with Noah Wyle.
That's it. I've heard it's excellent.
So good. I've got to tell you, Noah Wyle I think he's amazing. So the finale is coming next week. And the good news is that they are going into a second season. But because we've been watching that and enjoying it so much with the older Noah Wyle, we've gone back and started rewatching the original ER with the baby Noah Wyle. And it's so good. It is so good. Yeah.
That show was excellent. And I think it was the first, I would like to say it's the first real, like, primetime serial drama that I really got into. You know, my mom had like Dynasty and Knots Landing. Not that this was as much of a soap opera, but it's one that I can remember being really the first one that was like appointment television for me. And I don't know if you remember the show, The Facts of Life, but George Clooney was on the show, The Facts of Life. And yes, I know you guys are going to be like, this is about two conservative women. You can't say nice things about George Clooney, but let's be real. The guy is a smoke show. He is hot. And I will tell you that when he was on ER, I was out to lunch with my mom at Dupar's, which is a delicatessen on Ventura Boulevard, and he opened the door for us, Katie. He opened the door.
No way.
George Clooney. When he had the Caesar haircut, like the full ER George Clooney, and both my mom and I were like,
Was he
hard
as
to
cute
imagine.
in person?
Yes, not very tall. But they never are, these actors.
No.
But very good looking, very, very handsome, for sure. So I love DR and I love Noah Wyle and Anthony Edwards too. It was a great cast. It was a really good cast. Yeah,
I know.
all the way
all
through.
Right. Well, you got to check out The Pit. It's I think
will do that.
It's very powerful. I can't attest to its conservative bona fides, but
sometimes you just need fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want you and Seb to watch Paradise because
I'm going to.
It's a weird one. But it's fun. It's a fun one.
What I was going to say about The Pit is that it's not super conservative, but it will not destroy your soul, which about is as much as you can ask for from Hollywood these days.
That's exactly right. I feel like it is a win when you can just watch something for its entertainment value and you don't feel like you need a shower afterwards. You're in good shape. So both of these shows will meet we'll check the boxes. All of the shows we mentioned here. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Don't forget, real quick reminder. This one's just for me. I wish Katie was going with us this time around, but I want to remind you that you're invited to our Patriots Alaska cruise. And we set sail on August 16th. We come back the 23rd in and out of Seattle. And we are headed back to Alaska. It is absolutely stunning and beautiful. There is not a place like it on the planet. The wildlife, the terrain, the history. It's magic. It really is. And you will love it. There's something for everybody. If you're a history buff or if you love the outdoors, it's a great trip. And we'll be floating along with like-minded patriots just like you, and we will be making lifetime friendships along the way. Mike Gallagher will be there, Larry Elder, of course, yours truly, and Joe Piscopo, which will be so much fun. That guy is talented from the toes up. So we will have a great time talking about politics, laughing a little, and of course, hanging out with all of you and 5-star luxury cruising on Holland America. The best food, the best shopping. They've got casinos, they've got spas, workout rooms, like live theater. It's fun. So come with us, join us. Travelwithsalem.com is the website, travelwithsalem.com. And of course, you should always get Katie's book. It's called Next Gen Marxism, available wherever you get your books and at katiegorka.org. You can also find her on Facebook. Just search Catherine Gorka, and on X, Gorka Katie. And you can find me on social media too. Please do. Jennifer Horn Radio on Instagram and on Facebook, and Jennifer Horn on Truth and on X. Thank you for those 5-star reviews. And we really appreciate you sharing Happy Women with your friends. You can connect with us on all the platforms, video, audio, anywhere. Just search for Happy Women or go to SalemPodcastNetwork.com/Happy Women. Thanks for joining us. It is the Happy Women Podcast.